I want to tell you a quick story about a guy named Derek. Derek drives this completely beat up 2008 Honda Accord. It's actually got this massive crack right down the windshield that he's been meaning to fix for, probably over 2 years now. If you bump into him, he's basically always wearing jeans and just a plain unbranded t shirt. He orders whatever's cheap on the menu, and he literally never ever talks about money. Well, today in this explainer, we're going to unpack Derek's financial strategy because honestly, it is going to completely change how you view wealth and appearances. Okay, let's dive into this. Because here's the kicker. Derek actually retired at 49 years old with exactly $2.4 million sitting in the bank. I know, right? Wild. But what's truly crazy about that figure is that most people who know Derek have absolutely no clue. Zero. His neighbors, they just assume he's solidly middle class. His old college buddies think, he makes a decent living, but nothing special. His former coworkers just figured he was a regular guy who was maybe just kind of good at budgeting. And the thing is, Derek is perfectly fine with all of that. Actually, he considers keeping his mouth shut to be the absolute best financial decision he has ever made. So, what exactly is he doing? Well, the crucial point is understanding this concept called stealth wealth. It's the intentional practice of looking modest and deliberately not broadcasting your financial success. This isn't just some quirky little personality trait of Derek's either. There is a very specific strategic reason why the most financially successful people out there practice this, while some of the most financially stressed people are probably out there driving the absolute nicest cars. So today we're breaking down exactly why looking poor might actually be the most important financial move you can make to protect your peace and seriously grow your assets. Let's start with the most obvious and devastating trap out there: lifestyle inflation. It is the silent killer of bank accounts. Here's exactly how this plays out in real life. Step one, you get a big raise. You're feeling great, right? So you celebrate with step two. You ditch that perfectly fine $300 car payment for a $700 a month luxury vehicle. Then comes step three. You figure, hey, I can afford a better place now. So your rent jumps from $1,400 to $2,300 a month. And mind you, that doesn't even include the nicer restaurants you're going to, the better clothes, the bigger vacations. Every single one of those upgrades feels completely justified in the moment because, hey, your income went up. But let's just pause and look at the actual math here. By making those lifestyle upgrades, you have permanently raised your monthly cost of living by anywhere from $2,000 to $3,500 a month. That awesome raise you just got, yeah, it didn't accelerate your savings at all. It completely vanished into your brand new baseline. This massive monthly cost increase is exactly why there are Americans out there earning 150 grand a year who are genuinely broke. And I mean genuinely broke. Living paycheck to paycheck, literally just one bad month or one unexpected medical bill away from a full-blown financial crisis. And the fallout isn't just financial. Let's talk about how this bleeds into your social life. Because the blunt reality is this: looking rich makes you a financial target. And I don't mean that in some kind of gripping crime drama way, but in a totally predictable human psychology kind of way. The very second the people around you perceive you as wealthy, the dynamics instantly shift. All of a sudden, family members need loans. Friends just kind of expect you to pick up the dinner check. Coworkers assume you're going to cover the lion's share of that office gift. Even your kids' friends' parents start expecting you to host the super expensive birthday parties. We see the real world cost of this dynamic all the time. Take Patricia, for example. She inherited a significant amount of money in her early 50s, and she immediately made her wealth super visible. We're talking a new house, a flashy new car, a loud new wardrobe, the whole shebang. Well, the results were a total disaster. She lent money to 5 different relatives and never saw a single dime of it again. And when she finally put her foot down and started saying no to financial requests, she literally lost 2 friendships over it. She ended up in this totally new social orbit that cost an absolute fortune just to maintain. When she was asked what she'd do differently, she said she would have kept her old life exactly as it was. Which brings us to a seriously shocking piece of data. Look, we've been trained since birth to think money looks a certain way, right? The designer watches, the massive houses. But look at this insight from researcher Thomas Stanley. He spent decades studying actual American millionaires for his book, The Millionaire Next Door. And what he found was that the vast majority of them drive regular, totally unremarkable vehicles. They aren't driving leased BMWs or flashy Range Rovers. Nope. They are perfectly content driving their 10-year-old Toyotas, Hondas, and Fords. They live in modest homes, they shop at regular grocery stores, and they honestly just look solidly middle class. So you're probably wondering, who exactly is driving those luxury cars then? Well, that leads us to a really fascinating behavioral trap called affluence signaling. It's the brutal irony of behavioral economics. A huge percentage of the people who look wealthy, the ones living in those oversized homes and wearing the flashy designer labels, are statistically carrying enormous amounts of debt just to support that appearance. They are not actually wealthy. They're simply performing wealth, and it is quietly costing them absolutely everything. The reason people fall into this trap is tied directly to something called the spotlight effect. It's this psychological quirk where you dramatically overestimate how much other people actually notice and care about your possessions. You walk around feeling like everyone is judging your car, noticing your clothes, evaluating your house. But the fascinating and honestly kind of comforting reality of behavioral science is that people are mostly just thinking about themselves. Literally, nobody is judging your 5-year-old sedan. They're way too busy worrying if you're judging their new shoes. Trying to keep up with your neighbors is just this exhausting, unwinnable game that literally has no finish line. To see just how freeing it is to escape that trap, let's look at Jason. In his late 30s, Jason was essentially broke. He constantly leased brand new trucks just because his friend group did. He bought all the expensive brands, took the pricey trips, all just to maintain his image. His actual net worth? Zero. But at age 41, he just opted out. He decided he was done. He bought a used truck, switched to basic clothes, and started heavily investing his money instead. And you know what happened? Just 5 years later, his net worth absolutely exploded to nearly $250,000. Jason realized that the hardest part wasn't even saving the money. It was accepting that nobody actually cared about his truck nearly as much as he thought they did. Now, here is another incredibly sneaky reason to practice stealth wealth, the wealth tax, or as it's more formally known, predatory pricing. Research published in the Journal of Consumer Research shows that customers who are perceived as high status are regularly quoted much higher prices for the exact same services. Think about it. If you walk into a dealership looking wealthy, the price goes up. When a contractor sees a luxury car in your driveway and premium finishes inside your house, you guessed it, the quote goes up. Financial advisors will even steer you toward higher commission products. Simply looking wealthy actively costs you tens of thousands of dollars over a lifetime purely because salespeople assume you can afford it and that you'd be too embarrassed to ask for the budget option. Now, what's really interesting about this is the ultimate math comparison over 25 years. Let's take two 35-year-olds, both earning $85,000 a year, and both have a $1,500 monthly gap between their income and their necessary living expenses. Take Status Steve, for example, who spends that entire $1,500 on lifestyle upgrades. You know, a nicer car, better clothes, expensive dinners. He looks incredibly successful. But now contrast that with Stealth Sarah. She quietly takes that exact same $1,500 every single month and invests it into a diversified index fund portfolio, earning a historical average of about 8% annually. Fast forward 25 years, and the results are just jaw-dropping. Status Steve's net worth from that $1,500 a month? Zero. I mean, sure, he's got some great memories and a closet full of out-of-style clothes, but that's it. Stealth Sarah, on the other hand, She has a staggering $1.4 million quietly sitting in her investment accounts. This brilliantly illustrates the compound effect of discipline. That money you don't spend on appearances doesn't just disappear, it gets redirected and it multiplies in the background to create life changing, irreversible wealth. But honestly, beyond all the math, the absolute most important benefit of stealth wealth might just be this: it forces you to detach your identity from your price tags. Think about it. If your sense of self is deeply tied to how wealthy you appear to others, you are standing on incredibly shaky ground. That image requires constant feeding. And if you ever face a real financial setback, like a job loss or a crazy medical emergency, it doesn't just hurt your bank account, it threatens your very identity. It feels like a massive personal failure. The cage that gets built by a lifestyle inflated just to support an image, it is one of the most suffocating places you can possibly live. So, the really crucial point here is understanding what actual wealth is. True wealth doesn't photograph well for Instagram. True wealth is having zero financial stress at 2 a.m. when you're staring at the ceiling. It's having the absolute freedom to take a lower paying job simply because you love the work. It's the ability to move to a smaller, more affordable city without feeling like you're visibly downsizing or failing in the eyes of your peers. It is the sheer power to say no to an expensive group vacation without feeling even an ounce of guilt. Wealthy retirees who are genuinely at peace almost universally share this exact trait. Their identity is built on things that just don't require an audience. Which brings us right back full circle to our buddy Derek. Derek, with the old Honda, is not suffering, guys. He spends his Tuesday mornings playing pickleball. He travels totally stress free whenever he feels like it because money is the one thing he has more than enough of. And oh, that cracked windshield we talked about at the very beginning? Yeah, he actually finally got it repaired last spring, paid in cash, and didn't mention it to a single soul. And that right there, my friends, is the whole game. So, I want to leave you with this final provocative thought to really chew on. Take a hard look at your own spending, your own daily habits, and ask yourself honestly, are you building real wealth or are you just performing it? It's a tough question, for sure. But the answer to it might just be the ultimate key to unlocking your financial freedom. Thanks for joining me on this explainer.